Well, this is something, isn't it? I'm a bit late to the party here, but I just wanted to quickly drop my thoughts in on the confirmation that we are actually getting Star Trek Khan. It's actually happening. News has been reported by trekmovie.com. Thank you. Yeah, so this kind of dropped out of nowhere. It was a real jump scare moment, kind of like the rat in The Wrath of Khan.
Jim.
It is an audio series, which, Star Trek's done, I think it's done audio productions before. It's not really a piece of media that I tend to go in for. I've always been more just the visual media side of the franchise. I imagine that this is going to be canon, right? Unlike the novels, which typically aren't canon. I think I'm always a little bit confused as to which books are canon, which aren't. I imagine that this one will probably be canon. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I've got some conflicted thoughts on it. In terms of the actual media, I'm kind of intrigued and kind of excited in a very curious way. It's good that the franchise is experimenting with different ways to give us entertainment. I don't think Star Trek has to just be confined to the visual medium. I would like to see more books being released that are actually considered canon. Naveen Andrews, that's terrific casting. That's the thing that immediately jumped out to me when I caught this news. I was like, it wasn't like, oh, this is actually happening, because Trek has a bit of a history in recent years of going, oh, we're going to do this, and then it doesn't happen, or it does happen, and then it's Section 31. But yeah, this actually, they said they were going to do it. I think most people, myself included, were like, yeah, all right. Not only is it happening, the casting that's been announced so far is very, very good. Naveen Andrews, I've not seen him in anything really since Planet Terror. Maybe Planet Terror. When was that? 2007, 2008. I mean, it's a long time ago. I remember him very well from Lost. He was one of my favourite characters in Lost. Just a really interesting character with a lot of kind of surprising layers to him. So yeah, let's get into this. I'm not going to be like those channels that read these articles word for word. I don't want to do that. Go read the article. I'll link it in the description. Like Section 31, which went from a TV show to a film, the original concept was this was going to be a TV show, a miniseries, and the original treatment was written by Nick Meyer, director of The Wrath of Khan and The Undiscovered Country, a prolific writer, and I've never seen him make a bad film. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he was a creative consultant on Discovery's first season, and I don't really see where his influence was on that, but never mind. So Star Trek Khan, I guess it's an interquel, if that's the right term. I think that's the term that the kids are using these days, charting the adventures or misadventures of Khan between the events of Space Seed and when we catch up with the character again in The Wrath of Khan. Been rejigged as an audio drama. I'm assuming the real reason is because they weren't able to secure the funding for it to be a real kind of live action thing. I guess, I mean, if you're thinking about the events that you would expect to see, you know, essentially a whole planet exploding, massive kind of ecological upheaval, massive environmental changes, it would probably be quite an effects heavy thing, I think, given the perceived lack of success of recent Star Trek products. They probably just didn't want to give it the money. Like I said, an audio drama I think is a perfectly acceptable compromise point. I mean, let's get into some of the things that I'm not super stoked about. The exciting expansion of the Star Trek universe will explore the dramatic, untold events that unfolded in the desolate world of Ceti Alpha 5 after Captain Kirk left Khan and his followers stranded there, paving the way for the iconic clash in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. ... Very dramatic. History remembers Khan Noonien Singh as a villain, the product of a failed attempt to perfect humanity through genetic engineering, whose quest to avenge himself on Admiral James T. Kirk led to unimaginable tragedy and loss. But the truth has been buried for too long beneath the sands of Ceti Alpha 5. How did Khan go from a beneficial tyrant and superhuman visionary with a new world at his fingertips to a monster we think we know so well? recently unearthed. The rest of Khan's story will finally be told in Star Trek Khan. It's this line: how did Khan go from a beneficial tyrant and superhuman visionary? What the fuck is that? What is that line all about? Sorry, beneficent. I think I said beneficial. Beneficent tyrant. How did he essentially go from a good tyrant? I don't think there is such a thing as a good tyrant. I really don't like this continued attempts the franchise seems to be stuck in at the moment to humanize and soften what is essentially a really terrible, dangerous, franchise-topping villain. They've done it recently with Philippa Georgiou in Section 31, and they've been trying it for years with that character to make us kind of like her and feel something for her. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. No, we're introduced to her character in Discovery, and she's basically eating Saru. And no attempts to make us kind of like her have worked for me, and especially Section 31. I mean, if you want to know my thoughts on that and you've not checked out the review, I'll link that in the description as well, but I didn't like it. Surprise, surprise. This line in particular, I hate to use the word. I don't want to sound like the crazy people on Twitter. It's a bit of a problematic line. You know, I think it's entirely possible for Star Trek to make things that center around a villainous character. You don't have to soften. By all means, give us wrinkles of complexity. Give us things to suggest that the character feels that what they're doing is completely just. I think you can do that. Absolutely. I mean, the best Trek villains are the ones that don't see themselves as a villain and see themselves as doing what they believe to be the best thing, not only for themselves, but for the people they represent. Gul Dukat is a really fine example until he went like massively off the rails in the later seasons. Yeah, I don't like this idea that we can potentially be softening the biggest villain in Trek history. I don't think it's needed, particularly right now in the current state of the world. We're seeing a rise in tyrannical leaders. It's very surprising that Star Trek, the people that run it, lean really hard left. You'd think they'd want to really kind of fight this. Look, I'm making a lot of assumptions here. I'm basing all of this based on this tiny little synopsis here. I think this line is quite a revealing one, and I'm quite concerned. Let's move away from some concerns and go back to the casting. The only two people who have been announced, Naveen Andrews, but also Ren Schmidt, who will be playing Marla MacGyvers. I think that's terrific casting. I don't know if you've seen For All Mankind. I was actually really quite late to that party. I started watching it last year. That show is fantastic. Really top-notch stuff. Ronald D. Moore doesn't miss, does he? And in particular, I really enjoyed Margot Madison in the show, and Ren Schmidt is a really good actress, really kind of understated, but there's quite a lot of range there. MacGyver's is an interesting character, and I'll get onto it because I've got Space Seed coming up in my review series, so I don't want to give too much away here, but the portrayal of MacGyver's in the episode is an interesting one, not without its critics. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what this does to the character. You know, we know that MacGyver's dies. She's killed by a SETI eel, and Khan's pretty pissed off about it, as we all know. What if that gets a bit of extra context? You know, what if MacGyver's leads some sort of revolt against Khan? She realizes that she made a mistake, and there's some sort of kind of civil war, because there was 72 augments, and we don't see 72 in the Wrath of Khan. And it figures, obviously, with the complete ecological and environmental disaster on SETI Alpha 5, that a few of them would have died. But what if more of them died because of infighting and some sort of kind of augment civil war? What if MacGyver's was leading the other side, and Khan had to kind of reluctantly, in a heartbreaking moment, kill his lover, his former lover, and that would kind of make him, that would push him towards kind of insanity and blaming Kirk for all of it. I'm jabbering on now. I need to wrap this up. There's a lot here that I'm intrigued about, more so than I was before this was announced. It's not something that I was actively campaigning for. I don't think that Star Trek needs to completely flesh out its entire universe. I like having to do that myself. But yeah, my excitement levels for this have just, gone up even with my concerns. Regardless of if they go in the direction that I want or not, I think I'm probably going to cover this one. I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to present a review for an audio drama, but I'll figure it out. Should be fun. This is apparently dropping at some point in 2025. It should be available on all major podcasting networks, so I imagine it will probably be on Spotify, Audible, and all of those types there. So check it out. What do you think? Oh, my voice has gone really croaky there. Hang on. What do you think about Star Trek Khan? Are you excited? Do you have the same concerns that I do? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. And until the next one, live long and prosper.